Alright, now we want to take a look at absolute value inequalities. These are inequalities that naturally contain what? Absolute values. Woo-hoo! Now, I've got two different situations that I like to talk about here when we're talking about these absolute value inequalities. One of them is called the mother hen, and the other one's called the restraining order. Now, these are two things that I'm very familiar with, given the background of my birth and where I grew up. See, we all know about mother hens, right? Mother hens, the kind of people that make sure their children don't get away from them, right? They're the kind of parents that when they go to the mall, they got their kids chained to some kind of kid leash. That's this kind of inequality. When you see this kind of inequality, like the absolute value of x is less than a number, this is saying I want my distance to be less than something. That's why I'm going to leash my kids to myself. That way they're not getting away from me. Does that make sense? That means don't laugh at me, their distance needs to be within a certain amount. Okay? If you have something that looks like this, now we're going to make sure that our A is going to be greater than 0. We're not going to be dealing with the absolute value of the distance being less than a negative number because that don't make no sense. But if you have this situation, you end up with this kind of inequality. Naturally, I do declare that x is going to be less than a. However, on the flip side, it's going to be greater than negative a. Now, when you look at this string of inequalities, it better make sense to you. Less than. You never have a string of inequalities where they're going in the opposite direction. This is, again, what we call the mother hen. And let me give you an for example. If I have the absolute value of x being less than 10, what do you think that means? Oh my Lord, Captain Obvious has struck again. That means I want my distance to be less than 10. Now, if you're thinking about a number line, you know what a number line is, right? Everybody loves 0. Here's 10, and here's negative 10. If I want my distance from 0 to be less than 10, that means I need it to be somehow in between these values. Isn't that right? So that means my solution set is going to be the stuff in between here. Because I don't want you to get further than 10 out in either direction. Are you with me? Now, if I look at the statement that I have above here, then that means that the way I'm going to rewrite this guy, because sometimes there's more work that needs to be done, is that x is going to be less than 10, but at the same time it's going to be greater than what? And as we saw in class the other day, my solutions, my x's are between negative 10 and 10. Am I including negative 10 and 10? No. Why not? I don't have the equal to part here. So what is my solution using interval notation? It's negative 10 to 10, right? Now, I said there was another type of situation that we run into. Hopefully you guys never run into this. And this is what we call the restraining order. Now, you know how restraining orders work, right? Restraining orders require you to keep a certain distance away from something. They don't want you to be close. They want you to get away from them, right? So it means they want your distance to be greater than some value, right? And when it's greater than some value, what that means for us is that they want you to be more than A on one side, or there's another place you can be, and where is that? That's going to be less than negative A. Notice how I changed the direction of the inequality, and I changed the sign. Now I'm dealing with the word or. What does the word or mean? The word or means union, and that's what I have here is a union. Up here, when it's one string like this, it's understood to be what? What did we say before? It's an intersection. This is understood to be an intersection. If you rewrote this guy, we're saying that x is less than a, and x is greater than negative a, and intersection. That's why we have just this one piece right here. But when I'm talking about or, that means I have the potential to have two sections. So this is what we call our restraining order. At least that's what I call it. So I want to give you guys examples that make sense to you. You know, whenever you hang around places where you shouldn't hang around, and people say, I really don't want you hanging around here anymore. They give you a restraining order so you can't be around those places. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, you're nodding your head like you really understand that. I'm glad I'm not the only one who's been asked to leave. So, for example, if I say that the absolute value of x is greater than or equal to 12, that's saying that I want my distance from 0 to be what? Greater than or equal to 12. That means here's 12 out here, so I want you to be equal to 12 or greater than that, right? So this is saying x needs to be greater than or equal to 12 or what? What am I saying up here? So if I flip, that means x is what? Less than or equal to negative 12. So here's negative 12. I need to be less than or equal to this. So in a restraining order, you know that okay, there's the person, and where's the guy supposed to be? He can be here or here, right? He just cannot get inside. Okay, so how do I describe this guy using interval notation? Okay, you know how to do this. This is not new for you. Interval notation. What is it? Parentheses, negative infinity, bracket, and then what? Union. Use that union symbol. Then what? Bracket 12 to infinity. Okay. So this is the basics of working with absolute value inequalities. You've got your two main situations. You've got your mother hen, you've got your restraining order. And it's all about understanding how you read this. Knowing that your distance, if it's less than a unit, less than something, that means you need to stay within. But if it's greater than, if you want your distance to be more than, that means I need you to stay away. That's like me. You do not get close to me. All right? Do not invade my personal space. There's no hugging. No matter how happy you may get about your grade at the end of the semester. No hugging. Restraining order.